The number one winner in the draft, some people absolutely killed the draft. There's three teams that just did a magnificent job. The number one team is the Oklahoma City Thunder because now you can see the puzzle pieces going together. So what they did in the draft is Chet Holmgren, another 2-pick. Now, I would have drafted Jabari Smith Jr., but, he was the fourth guy. My big boy, I can understand it. It wasn't a terrible draft pick, but what they did was really well. They traded 3 first-round draft picks for Osman Deng at the number 11. Now, when you're the Thunder and you are stockpiling picks like it's, preparing for D-Day, you can live with overpaying for the 11th pick when you have a gazillion picks. This is what having all those picks is for, going for a guy that you like. Mm-hmm. And at number 12, they got a guy I like a lot. They got both Jalen Williamses, which is pretty cool. But, they got a guy at number 12 that I love a lot, 2-guard from Santa Clara. It's number 10, big guy on my big board. And number 34, they got the other Jalen Williams, 6'10", power forward / center from Alabama. And he is really, really good. Really, really, really good. I really liked him a lot, switchable and all those type of things. And the reason why I have 100%, and the reason why I love their draft is you can see where they're going as a team, and it's the thing that we've talked about in the offseason. You remember when we talked about the Golden State Warriors, and we were like, man, the thing that nobody else, for some reason, nobody really noticed about the Warriors that made them great was passing.
Mm-hmm.
They are great passers. Look at the Spurs. Man, they really pass the basketball.
That ball
This
movement,
team...
man.
Yes, this team is special moving forward. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, let's just go position by position. Point guard. One, the guy's a 25-point per game scorer. You got a star there. He's a good passer, 6 to 7 assists per game guy. Like, he's a really good passer. At the 2-guard now, you have Jalen Williams from Santa Clara. Now, if you didn't watch my NBA draft stuff, you would have heard me compare him to James Harden passing-wise. Me saying he was by and far away the best passer at the 2-guard position by a gazillion miles. And had the highest basketball IQ, or like high scoring IQ, and really understands the game. All right, so those two paired together is great passing. They drafted Josh Giddey last year he's a point forward, rotational guard that is a great passer, right? He's like really, really gifted passing the basketball. 6'8". Jalen Williams is 6'5", and then they get Osman Deng, which most people may not understand, but the reason why I like that fit is he's a good passer. He's a point forward type, a perimeter shot creator passer. And then you have Chet, who's a good passer at the center position, and I'm looking at that team, and I'm like, wow, you just made one Jalen Williams off the bench is a good passer as well, but he's a good defender, a good rim runner, good backup power forward / center. He's going to be really good for them defensively, but the reason why I'm like really liking it, one, Osman Deng 6'9", so he can be your power forward in the future, and these guys are going to fit so well passing the basketball together. This is a gifted passing team, and I've talked about it before. Greatness is usually brought out of having extreme strengths of your basketball team. Look at the Warriors. We have an extreme strength. We have the best perimeter shot create, best shooting backcourt of all time, right? Those two separate may not be as great as those two together because of the way they distress the defense. Look at the Boston Celtics. They got 2 wing death guys over there that guard everybody, and 2 perimeter ISO guys that can go get you a bucket. That's a strength of their team for the next 10 years. And what you built here is a team that is the best passing team in the league, gifts-wise. I mean, it's not that crazy to say that on their own teams in about 5 years, every guy on this team could average at least 5 assists, not named Chet. Osman Deng could average 5 assists. Josh Giddey could average 9 or 10. Like, he's really gifted passing the basketball. Jalen Williams would be a 6 to 7 to 8 assists per game guy for me, and Shai could be 5 years from now 7 to 8. Like, you put all those guys together, and now we're talking team that actually plays team basketball and passing and has length and athleticism and shot creation and, enough scoring. And, it may be that that Thunder's GM learned from the past of having a little bit of an inefficient pairing with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, and maybe wanted to move to this type of team moving forward. Now, their head coach isn't the kind of like Spurs, Warriors head coach where they're running a whole passing, off-ball, cutting type of scheme. They need to get a guy like a Mike Brown in there, like an Ime Udoka in there, a guy that's going to run that scheme to fit this team. But as long as they get the right head coach, this could become something special. And, it's not like each pick they knocked out of the house in like a home run pick of just value per position. But each pick fit a scheme and a vision of passing and team basketball that's really going to be something special moving forward with. It's really intriguing. And I feel like a head coach, as long as they replace that head coach with somebody who really runs that kind of system, this team could be special moving forward.
So how I see this is just that we need to start giving Sam Presti his flowers right away.
Yeah, he's good.
Like, he drafted 3 MVPs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now he's drafted exactly what his team needs moving forward. Modern NBA outside of Toronto and the Warriors, or is it the Clippers who has Jerry West? I think it's the Warriors. Warriors have Jerry West.
The Clippers have Jerry West right now, but they used to have Jerry West. Warriors used to have West in the front office as an advisor.
They're the best these are the best GMs right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing a phenomenal job. It's just, you got to give Sam Presti his flowers.
Yeah. You're thinking of Bob Snyder or Bob something. Bob... the first name's Bob for the Warriors GM.
Yeah, these guys got to get their flowers.
Yeah, the Nuggets GM does a great job too.
Yeah,
even though they didn't do well this year in the draft, surprisingly.
Yeah, they got everything they needed last year and then traded it away. So
yeah, it's really interesting, man. So yeah, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Congratulations to people, Oklahoma City fans. You've been sitting through the terribleness for the past few years. I get it, but you got something moving forward. You really do. And I'm really happy and excited to see where things move in the future, because it's a team that got a lot of things that fit. Yeah, I really like this team. All right. You ready to transition to the next team?
Yeah.
Now, in most years, this team would be the team that knocked it out of the park. I just view what Oklahoma City Thunder did as beauty in action. Houston Rockets. Dear goodness. We would talk about the luckiest team in the draft. Getting Jabari Smith Jr. at 3. The one guy on my big board, the guy compared to Paul George. He's that kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. And then they knocked it out of the park with a second pick, choosing my number 1 small forward in the draft, Tari Eason, 6'8", 3-and-D guy. At the worst case scenario, you're getting Trevor Ariza there. Best case scenario, you're getting a 20-point per game scorer from the small forward position, because he does flash a lot of shot creation for himself from multiple different spots. And getting Ty Washington at number, 29. And he's a point guard, right? He's a point guard from Kentucky that was my number 2 point guard in my draft, who was the number 16th guy on my big board. And that's huge value, because if KCP doesn't work out at the point guard position, you got a guy that could become that type of player in the future.
KPJ.
Yeah, KPJ. I always get him wrong. It's a really good fit. And secondly, Tari Eason and Jabari Smith bring the defense that team needed, right? Because Jalen Green's not a great defender. KPJ's not a great defender. But these two guys can be all-NBA defense, first team. They both have those kind of gifts. They both love to play defense. 6'10", 6'8". They got really long and athletic, quick. This completely changes their team. And because of that, also, now you get a secondary scorer moving Jalen Green, and you got my number 1 guy from my last year's draft and the number 1 guy from this year's draft in my big board on the same team.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's scary. That is scary. That type of thing doesn't happen when you don't have number one picks in either one of those drafts. That type of thing doesn't usually happen. I think this is going to be a Jason Tatum type of thing
last year. I mean,
where he goes
after the All-Star break, he went
everybody
insane.
a few
He
years
lost
from
his
now is gonna be
mind.
like,
That's just going. You think he's not working right now
we
to go
fucked
even
up.
crazier next year? Jason's going to end up being right.
You know, it's
I love
okay.
that for
It's
us.
okay. You know, prove me wrong, but yeah. That was the guy that should have been a number one pick this year. And Houston Rockets. This could be, you know, one of the greatest 1-2 punches that this team's ever seen in the future. You know, up there with James Harden and CP3 in about 5 years. This is a team that can win playoffs because now they're a complete basketball team. Because when you have two guys that can be all NBA defense, you can always be like a 15th to 16th best defense in the league. And I know they drafted a guy last year as a power forward from he played in overseas at the same place Luka Doncic played, and they drafted him mid first round. He's like a 6'9" forward. So they got a rotational guy to do the same type of thing there. So that's where things get interesting. I really think that they just made themselves a complete basketball team while also adding more offensive punch. This team's got something moving forward, and I like their coach, Skiles. I think he's a very good coach. I think he's somebody you want to stick with and let him rebuild and give him time to, you know, because I feel like he's done a good job from the games I've seen. So Houston Rockets, man, this is you got gold. You got gold given to you in this draft. Yeah. Yeah. My two number one guys are on the same team. It's gonna be easy to see that I was right. In about 5 years, I'll be counting my chips. Thank you very much.
And actually blow these episodes up so that they can you know, go to the eyes of those important in the NBA, so they can see that Jason's just is great when it comes to this.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's
a hidden
exciting.
gem for sure.
Oh my gosh, the Rockets are really you got two superstars in the future. That's what I think. Yeah, knocked it out of the park. I can't believe it. I can't believe Orlando passed. All right, you ready to transition to the next team that knocked up? There's 3 100% grades, top A pluses, and this is the last team that's got an A plus, and number 3, and that's the Detroit Pistons. Man, I mean, getting Jaden Ivey at 5. Kings are gonna look back at Kings. Kings always are one pick away from making the right choice. They just never can. You know, drafting Keegan Murray there was the wrong choice, and it's gonna be Marvin Bagley, like where you chose Marvin Bagley before Luka. I don't think Jaden Ivey's gonna be the next Luka, but Jaden Ivey's pretty special, and passing on him there just was stupid. But the things the Kings do, and I feel bad for Kings fans. So, you know, Jaden Ivey is like peanut butter and jelly with Cade Cunningham. I feel like I made this comparison with pre-lottery where I projected him to go to the Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons probably threw a pizza party like right after the Sacramento Kings pick. Everybody's getting raises. Everybody's getting bonuses. Like, we cannot believe that he fell to us because he's peanut butter and jelly with Cade, because everything Cade does and Cade's weaknesses, Jaden Ivey fills like peanut butter and jelly. You know what I mean? Because Jaden Ivey is the great athlete that can just get to the rim whenever he wants and put pressure at the rim that Cade Cunningham just can't. He doesn't have the athletic gifts like that. But Jaden Ivey's weaknesses is basketball IQ, like really understand situations. Cade Cunningham's probably has the highest basketball IQ in the past 2 years out of all the drafts. Him coming out of college, listening to him talk about basketball was like listening to a really high-tier basketball IQ guy. So he's going to bring that to the game for the next 10 to 15 years. So, you know, that paired with Jaden Ivey's just so electric, the perimeter shot creation for himself. That's something that Cade's like an efficient point guard. You know what I mean? Just really efficient. Doesn't have the wiggle that Ivy has and the perimeter shot creation for deep 3-point range potential that Jaden Ivey has, and these two guys are going to be a 1-2 punch that's going to stare crap out of teams. And they also did a really good thing. They traded for Jalen Duran at the 13th pick. They chose him. He's a freaky athlete. He's going to be a great lob threat with these two. These two are going to love having him on the floor, lob threat. Going to be a great interior defender. Compared him to DeAndre Jordan, worst case scenario. That's a good fit with great guards. And they did really well with that. And they also did really well with their second-round draft pick. At 36, they drafted Gabriel Procida. Many people now know him. He's from Italy. He was around that range. I think I had him at like 32, 33 on my big board. But what I really like about him is I compared him to Kyle Korver, but a little bit more athletic. But like the man shoots 42% from the three-point line in Italy at like 20 or 19, 6'7". He's just shooting forms like Korver as well. So you get a shooter that the team needs shooting. 6'7", so he's one of those guys that could be a 2 guard or he can be a 3 guard. He's going to be a rotational piece, you know what I mean? But rotational 2-3 guard, where you're getting a high tier shooter, is a really good fit with all these guard greatness between him and Ivy and Cade. So, you know, I'm glad that they also weren't like, oh, we're gonna pass on Ivy so we can give Killian Hayes another year to prove himself. Killian Hayes hasn't showed me anything. Right, Killian Hayes probably was a bust. So Killian Hayes can go be on your bench because, you know, let the show start with Jaden Ivey and Caden Cunningham. So Detroit Pistons, usually they suck at drafting. Past 2 years, killed it. You know, Sadiq Bey at the 4 position. It's a good fit. I really like what Detroit Pistons did.
Okay. I'm learning. I'm just learning. Look, I don't know. I'm learning.
All right. All right. The number 4th team on the draft gods, the draft winners, is a team that made it on the list last year. So, you know, they're doing a good job drafting. Their GM's doing a good job. This is a team that's got a good, bright future. They got a 95 on this year's draft, and it's the Charlotte Hornets, the team that traded Jalen Duran to the Pistons. And for that, they got a first next year and 4 future second-round draft picks, which is ridiculous. That's a lot That's a lot of value for the 13th pick. And they were really strategic with it because Mark Williams and Jalen Duran were on the board between 13 and 15. So what they did is they said chess, not checkers. The 14th pick can't choose. Probably had like a center on his team. I forget who it was. Oh, the Cleveland Cavaliers. They weren't going to choose a center. They have like Jared Allen, Evan Mobley. Why would the Cavs ever choose a center, right? So they said, we like Jalen Duran and Mark Williams. They're both on the board. We trade away Jalen Duran, and 2 picks later, the guy we want, Mark Williams, is still going to be there, right? So that was a really good chess move from the GM from the Charlotte Hornets, and Mark Williams I love. He's the 11th guy on my big board, 7'2". The man has future post potential because of size and athletic gifts paired with his body. But at the very least, you're getting a high tier shot blocker at the rim. A guy I think is better than Jalen Duran. You know, a good lob threat, a good rebounder, just a rim runner at that size, good athletic gifts. It's going to be a great pairing with LaMelo and the guards they have. And at 40, they drafted Bryce McGowns, who was around 28 on my big board. And I said, oh, in the late 20s, late first round, this is a boom or bust shooting guard if you want to take a shot on a future all-star or a bench player. And that's Bryce McGowns, man. 6'6", athletic, you know, can really shot create for himself, but he just doesn't do it in an efficient manner yet. But he's going to get given time. That's a real high upside pick of the second round. And Josh Manon, a big for Memphis. He was pretty okay. You know, that's why it's not 100% because I'm not in love with Josh Manon. But, you know, the 45th pick in the draft is not going to change your franchise. So, you know, Charlotte Hornets did a really good job. They've been putting drafts together over the past few years, doing a really good job.
Yeah. I mean, they have to after they gave Gordon Hayward all that money.
Yeah. They've done a really good job, man. LaMelo Ball's going to have a really good team 3 years from now.
Good.
LaMelo probably will be a Charlotte Hornet for life if the GM keeps on showing that he can be good like this. Yeah,
I'm excited to see the Charlotte Hornets play, man. I'm excited for Summer League. I want to see these guys, man, in action.
Yeah, that'll be fun. And the next one, the last winner of the draft, is the New York Knicks. I mean, how can you not be the winner of a draft when you trade your 11th pick for 3 future first-round draft picks in a trade that moves Kemba Walker as well?
I'm gonna stop you right there today, because all I see, right, is what is the New York Knicks doing? Stephen A. face palming. What the hell? They don't have nothing, And so, I don't. You tell me. You say it's good. Everybody else saying it's terrible.
When you get 3 future first-round draft picks, where one of them involves a Detroit Pistons pick for the 11th pick in the draft that turned into a boom or bust guy, and Osmond Deng, I'd say you did well, right? I mean, there's not like there was any superstar that fell to 11. So with 3 future firsts, that's a huge trade for the Knicks. That's a huge, you never see something like that happen for the 11th pick. And the only other pick they had was at 42, Trevor Keels from Duke. He's going to be okay. He's probably going to be a bench 2 guard. I don't really see anything special from it, but give him a 94%. They did really